Welcome everyone to the very first show match of the first Baltics duo tournament. In this show match we will demonstrate how will the tournament be played and showcase the format of how the upcoming matches will be before. For the show match we will have Exlude from Estonia, which is Estonia's #1, GodLord from Latvia against Jah from Estonia and Aya also from Estonia. So we have 3 Estonians, 1 Latvian. Now we have already rolled out the picks, and it will be that the Exlude and Gods duo will start off. The warm-up map has already been picked, and we will be starting off shortly. Okay then, we're about to start the very first match. Well, not the first match, the very first warm-up, shall I say. And this was picked by Exlude, and we will see how will this go. In this tournament, the setting will be like this. First, there will be a 1v1 with the low tier players, which are, you can see at the bottom. Those are players who are like the weaker, from the duo. And then we will see a 1v1 between the higher level players, and then we will see the real 2v2 between the both duos. For the 1v1s, there's a specific map pool. They will have a 1 ban from each of the low tier players, and the map that will be left, that will be played. The same format will be for the higher tier players. For the 2v2s, the format will be kind of like the same like all the other tournaments. There's 1 ban from one duo and 1 from the other. At the moment we can see that well, GodLord is quite struggling on this, but it will be quite interesting to see how this format will pan out, since there is a chance for, when it seems like that the duo is quite imbalanced. Let's say, for example, mid-tier player against a high tier low tier. On paper, yes, the mid-tier is the mid-tier players are on a bit of an upper hand. But with this format, it can, well, with very clever map picks, anything can happen. So we will see how will this turn out. HT and LT is the shorter way to, well, it's basically low tier and high tier. That's like how the grouping for the duos was created and how it will be set up. We're around like 2/3 in the warm-up, and we will soon, probably like both duos will have a pick for each warm-up, and we will see, and then we will begin the match properly. Although, I have to point out that these won't be the duos that will be played in the tournament. These are just randomly selected from people who wanted to play the show match. The real matches will start off next Thursday, or maybe Friday. It will depend on when will be the best times when people could play. And then the tournament will go on full force. At the moment it's quite dominant that Jah and Aya are quite in the lead. Even Jah is beating Exlude's score at the moment, and Aya is also like doing a very well performance so far. The tournament will be played in score v2 and not score v1, and so it like keeps at track most of the combo and accuracy, not so much on like the score base, like as like individual pieces are hit like in the original score v1. Okay, now the second duo will pick their version of a warm-up. In the warm-ups, the players can pick whatever map they like to, but although the warm-ups can be only picked by the high tier players. It's quite difficult to manage both being as a referee and a commentators. How I actually manage this setup while we have some dead air is that I actually use a 2 PC setup. One is for refing, one is for streaming, and I really hope my computer won't catch fires. I really hope. But so far so good. Seems like it, at least from my end. Not sure how it's going from chat's perspective, but from my side, thankfully, everything is so far so good. Looks like GodLord is praying for God, aka himself, because he sees the high numbers of the star rating. And we will start the warm-up quite shortly. Yes, bad jokes incoming. Quite a lot, actually. Anyway, the second warm-up picked by Jah. No idea about this map, but soon we will start the actual match of the showcase. Most of the maps in the map pool aren't actually that high of a star rating, so there's a chance of the bigger variety of players to actually be able to pass the maps. So at least there are some high-tide scores. About the actual map, well, there are multiple types of maps. There's the AC picks, which are mostly gonna be, I think they will end out actually on ratio based. There's SV maps, which is the random slider changes, which is mostly, if you play Mania a bit, is pretty self-explanatory, and you have been probably at least familiar with some of the maps that are SV, and most people sadly don't really like SVs, which is absolutely understandable because most of the time you need to at least be familiar with the map. We also have tech picks, which is usually not very comfortable patterns. Even the star rating might not be the very highest. Against, of course, clients is dying as always. Hopefully it will go back. Okay, it's back up. Nice, good old usual client problems. Anyway, we have as well the LN picks, which is mostly long node based maps. There's hybrids, which is the maps that are based off well, it's a mix of different styles of map, which is mostly like stamina kind of based patterns, LNs, SVs in a mix. So it's not, the map is not primarily on one kind of subgenre focus, but it's like a mix of everything, thus hybrid. For the LT and HT, I will just call them low tier, high tier picks. Most of the maps are hybrids, and they're applied in the levels, so the players of the lower and higher tiers are actually at least somewhat be able, hopefully, to beat them. High tier picks, I think, will be visually a lot more appealing, unlike some other like lower star picks. But I really hope that the players in the show match or in the matches upcoming, we'll pick one of the more intriguing SV maps, because there's one SV map that's in the map pool which is quite unique, and well, you can't. It's quite difficult to sight read it. If someone's actually like, well, I'm probably expecting like most people to sight read most of these maps, but if they like get that trap and picking that map and not practicing beforehand, oh boy, that's gonna be fun. Anyway, we're about to close on the second warm-up, and we will have the match picks actually starting. No idea of what will be the strategy for Exlude and God, since God is a bit struggling on the harder maps, but Exlude, as we know, is quite experienced. I'm actually surprised that GodLord actually somehow managed to like survive that. Probably. I'm not too sure. But in this kind of map, in this tournament, it's possible to pick, if you know that you will fail the map, especially for lower tier players. You can at least pick some, at least no fail. So you can, for the duo, you can at least save some extra points for the match score in total. Anyway, we're upcoming to the very first pick of the showcase. Since this is like individually planned out, so if you know that you can do very well, it also depends on how to... Oh yeah, of course, LT pick, sorry. It's gonna be, at first, it's gonna be on the low tier pick. So we will need some bit preparation before we start for the 1v1s. So to remind you, the way how the format works. First, there will be a 1v1 between the lower tier players, which are the weaker ones from the duo, and then there will be a 1v1 between the higher tier players, which are the stronger ones from the duo. There's a specific map pool for both of the 1v1s. There's an exclusive one, and how they do. There's only 3 maps, and there will be... It's really hard. And it's there are gonna be 2... okay, I'm gonna start all over. It's really hard to ref and comment at the same time. Anyway, there are 3 maps for the lower tier and 3 maps for the high tier. There's gonna be 1 ban. The players ban 1 map from the lower tier from the boss end, thus there's only 1 map left, and that map will be played. The same applies to the higher tier players. Hopefully that's understandable. Okay, phew. Okay, now. Good old between round interruptions. As any other tournament, usually there's also the same kind of issue. Players can't decide what to pick, and thus like scheduling improperly. Typical. Okay, so the first pick finally has been chosen for the lower tier 1v1. It's gonna be End of the Dream. The first maps will be banned for LT1 and LT3. Okay, and we're starting the match finally. Oh, what's about time? So in the match, there's gonna be GodLord versus Aya. Both are the lower tier players, and like I said, there will be 1v1. The winner of this round will receive the point for the duo, and the same will apply then for the later on the higher tier 1v1. I think in the lower tier there's a lot more accuracy based maps because most of them are 1-star. One option is a 2-star map, and I personally don't really know how what's GodLord's background, so it's gonna be really difficult to see how he performs in the specific 1v1. But Aya also has had experience in previous Baltics tournaments and has done a very good job proving that he's a very decent ACK player and can show some very good scores and very good accuracy based results on some specific maps with some lower star range. At the moment, there is actually quite a bit of a difference between Aya and Gods. 30,000 points difference on a very accuracy based map is actually pretty big, and good old client is lagging once again. Aya keeping a very good ratio so far as well. GodLord dropping some 200s from time to time, and that's I think the main reason what impacts his score. Also like some random misses time to time as well. Aya has a very good run so far on this specific map. I think there's like no problem for him so far. And there's another miss for Gods. I don't think it's gonna be really possible for him to catch up to Aya so far. Seems like so far Aya will most likely will take the point for their duo. GodLord is at least trying his best to at least set a score and trying to at least compete with Aya, at least on some kind of form. And this seems like a very clean run for Aya so far. Very high score seems like it. 987,000 score. That's really well. Almost an SS actually, but sadly one unlucky 200. Sadly, the name won't be really hard. Will be really difficult to like change just because how the tournament client has been set up. I will try to look into it on probably on the next tournament match to see try to fix it. So it seems like Jack will be going for the Zens, which is a 6-star LN map, and he will be banning that. And let's just see what Exlude will have to ban, and thus like the very last map will be decided. So we will be ending up. So I'll be ending up playing Grief and Malice by Hellblind. This map actually was one of the very first Mania maps that I have ever saw when someone had playing, aka Stayin, during the GDQ Stepmania showcase. And this map actually has a very big soft spot for me. And it will be quite insane to see both of these high tier players playing this map. Okay, and here we go. Exlude versus Jah. Actually, quite interesting duo or line matchup that we will see. One of them is now current Estonia #1. The other one is the former Estonia #1. Both are very good 4-key players, so I'm very looking forward to the result on this map. As we can see, the score is all the time flicking from one side to another, because both players actually are very well 4-key players, and they are one of the top Baltics players in the region. So the result and the outcome and the scores from... oh, and that's a miss from Jah. a bit unlucky. So even with the miss, I think the scores at the end will be very impressive. This map is very technical. There are some very awkward but are jump streamy patterns. So I think this map isn't too big of a problem for both of these players, but it's quite spectacular to watch, especially Exlude also doing a very good job so far, holding a 99 with score v2 so far, really good. So, and we're halfway of the map, and actually both players, Jah is also doing a very good job, holding a 98. Comparing to like score v1, in score v2, if you get a regular 300, which is the yellow one, the accuracy is decreased to 99, so it's not worth 100 like in score v1. Thus making a lot bigger change in case there is an action, for example, and both players do an SS. At least that now in score v2 that plays such a huge role. So for tournament-based settings, score v2 is very helpful. As we see in the map is very jump streamy, especially dense in this section with some thrills. As Jah is a bit struggling, dropping some 200s time to time. Exlude doing a very good job on the accuracy department. Also, I think he's even holding a full combo so far actually. Since I think there was a small drop from Jah at the very early at the map, so far he's doing very good, Exlude. And we're coming up at the end of the map. At the moment, Exlude with the massive advantage, and that's a very nice score by Exlude. Actually, by both of the players. But in this 1v1, sadly, Exlude takes the win. But actually, good job to both players. Exlude with the FC actually on this map. Really nice score. Okay, now we time for the bans of the 2v2s and the second part of the match, which will take well majority of the time. The 1v1s are just like a one-time thing. Yes, and Maruyama's name is really hard to type, that's true. Anyway, now we're, of course, SV bans actually are probably and expected to be banned. And because it's really difficult to sight read them, like I said, the random scroll speed changes, you need to actually prepare for those maps. And so it's actually understandable that most people, even some higher level tournaments, ban these type of maps. Well, of course we see like bans from both of the SV maps, and so we will see what will be the actually what will be the map picks during the match. Like I said, GodLord is a bit struggling. Actually, it's quite a bit struggling on most of the maps, keeping the accuracy high. So we will see what will be the picks and how will the match turn out. Exlude deciding the very first pick because he needs to think this is not for like as an individual play. He needs to play for his teammate as well. Since his teammate is not very capable of doing very high star maps very well or very hit them accurately, well, he does go for the very wise of going for the one of the AK picks. And the very first pick for the 2v2 is Son of Kick, which is a 1-star map, of course, accuracy based. What I'm expecting from this match is probably Exlude, Jah, and Aya going for the what's it called very good ratios. I'm probably going for the score v1 SS, and Exlude needs to pray for God, literally, for him to at least try his best, for him to do a very good AK performance and keep that ratio very high, because they need to compete against well, two very good players. Although this is the show match and like the end of the result doesn't really matter, it's just like demonstrating the format of how the competition will work. But still, some of the competitive aspects still kick in. No pun intended. Yeah, so far, Jah and Aya having a very big lead over Exlude and God. 70,000 points so far, and we're about to hit the middle point of the map. I feel like the most of the eyes are actually focused on God, so he does, because I think the result of the match will depend on God's performance. So it's actually quite exciting. I really hope for the fella to do very, very well. Probably some of the nerves also kicking. I keep doing these awful puns. A bit messing up the rhythm as well. God is also a bit dropping some AK points, trying to at least get some proper hits at least in, to get some extra score. But let's see from the Exlude, Jah, and Aya who will be able to get the SS of the map. Jah has a 1-200, Aya as well. Exlude probably quit, seems like it. It's very difficult to say from the Team Blue. Okay, yeah, Exlude with that SS score E1, but sadly, the point does go for the Team Jah and Aya. Now we will go to the second pick, which will be picked by Jah. It will be really also quite interesting to see how will the team play work out, since both Aya and Jah are actually capable of playing well, high level maps. I think they have like they're at this point I think they're a very strong duo, but it's understandable that in the actual tournament that won't be the case. Burnt Rice is the option. Okay, so Burnt Rice is actually one of the techier picks. It's one of the tech picks, and we will see how it will turn out, because it's a quite difficult. Although it isn't the highest star range, the patterns in the map are quite awkward to hit. Although it's more of a hybrid, but still more on the tech side. It has this map also has a bit of everything. There's some SVs a bit. There's some awkward like these staircase like-ish pattern. But we will see how the teams will work out. The real question is, will God be able to pass this? But we will see. Okay, now we're straighting into the second match. The second map of the showcase. Client a bit glitching. I'm giving already 400k points per player. Okay, it's going back up. Pretty good, pretty good. We see these very awkward stair rolls in the map. I think they're actually very fun to play through, but it's quite difficult to hit accurately. I think, but this is one of the maps that's actually very fun to like play, not like thinking about the tournament, for example. It's like one of the maps that actually shows and should actually give some problems, probably accuracy-wise. Also, the higher tier players, like also like Aya as well, for example. As we see, like the tiny SVs, stairs are quite giving some trouble. For example, to God. Exlude doing a very good job, 99.6, 5 accuracy, a bit dropped that from the SV. Aya is also doing pretty well so far. Jah is actually quite struggling so far. Quite unusual to see Aya doing a bit better than Jah, but like I mentioned, Aya did a like I said, Aya has done a very good performance in the past, considering the lower star rated maps. Actually, Exlude dropping there, a bit unexpected. It's a bit actually interesting to see that Aya and Exlude are actually having very tight scores at the moment. Seems like Aya is actually gonna have the best score out of all these 4 players. Even beating Exlude probably. And GodLord sadly without the pass. But yeah, look at how close Aya's and Jah's scores are. It's insane. And they both beat Exlude actually. Now that is unexpected. Since Scorpio 2 is a bit more accuracy based, so the ratio also plays quite a big role. And combo, which is not a, well, for example, combo hasn't, sorry, the combo isn't very too big of an, doesn't really play too big of a role in Scorpio 1. But in Scorpio 2 it's quite, we saw like Exlude dropping at some points and losing a big of score, because if you miss in Scorpio 2 you actually lose a bit of score. In Mania maybe that's not too noticeable, but when you like see some Taiko matches played in Scorpio 2, you see like sometimes even this, if like the map is way too crazy, the score sometimes even goes to negatives. That's quite interesting. Exlude's actually going quite a bit risky there, and going for a 4.3 star map, which is well, let's be real, I don't think God will be able to pass this. And but it will be quite interesting to see how these players perform in on this map, because this map is actually quite, even though it's a hybrid, it's actually very technical. Well, duh, it's a hybrid then. Because, there's a good reason why this pick is a hybrid. There's a bit of tech elements, there's some bit of weird elements, there's some weird, what's it called, chord jacks. There's even, were very actually quite interesting. See, I'm actually expecting misses from most of the players on the small chord jacks in the map. So it will be quite interesting to see how these players perform. I'm actually not expecting an FC from neither of the players, just because of the chord jack section coming up. Well, we already see Jah dropping a bit, having that tiny miss at the very start. Looks like God is getting very confused by the patterns. He goes the good old standard approach, as like what the standard players think of how many players play the games, like mashing keys, which is actually not. And let's see how God's version of just like mashing keys randomly will actually play out. If we actually look at some other players, Exlude is actually missing probably on the... Actually did not notice in which section he missed. My guess is actually the small chord jacks. Actually Jag is, with this minor miss at the start on some of the easier patterns, still actually holding the biggest combo so far. It's pretty interesting. It's quite very difficult to keep good AC on this map. So it will be quite interesting to see how this will turn out. Exlude hitting that thrill at the end, very perfect. I did not saw a single regular 300. But on the baseline, he's dropping some 200s. It's quite difficult to keep because there's like triple the chords with a mix of some jacks, some LN-ish thrills, and Lord fails at the very end. To be honest, I was expecting that. I actually getting on only an A on the map, probably because of the difficulty. Because this map is, I think, one of the hardest picks in the maps in the pool. And that's actually GG for the show map. Actually, a very good end that for the very high level picks displayed at least one of the hardest maps in the map pool. And probably the next, the real matches will start off in Thursday next week. Currently the times are not known. And I will try to figure out a proper way how to ref and commentate at the same time as well. And so at least there's a bit better job from the commentary perspective at least. Anyway, yes, there will be a VOD and the matches will be uploaded to the YouTube as well, including the show match. Anyway, thank you all for watching and see you next Saturday. Bye.